Hello everyone and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide, where tonight I'm here at Thorpe Park to climb to the top of the UK's tallest roller coaster, Hyperia, standing at 236 foot over the park. I just cannot wait for tonight to take in the absolutely awesome views. As soon as this experience went on sale on the Thorpe Park website only a few weeks ago, I was straight on there, I booked it straight away, and I've just been so excited ever since to climb to the top of this ride. Now the experience is priced at £120, so it is quite expensive, but you've got to think this is the ultimate lift hill climb that you can do in the UK. I've done the likes of the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, previously the tallest roller coaster in the country. Along with that, I've done the Swarm here at Thorpe Park, Colossus, up at Alton Towers, done Oblivion, Wickerman, Nemesis, and lots of other ones around the world over the years. So I really wanted to do Hyperia. Of course, it'll also be the tallest lift hill climb that I've ever done. So for me, £120 is definitely worth it for that. I just wanted to also mention you do actually need to be an annual pass holder to do this experience, and also along with that, you need to have done another climb at a Merlin attraction, either here at Thorpe Park on the Swarm or Colossus, or at Alton Towers on Oblivion, to be able to book this. I think the reason why they've done that is mainly because this is quite a big climb, you know, 236 feet. It's going to be one of them that there might be some people that would be scared of heights, or going up there and thinking, actually, yeah, I didn't think I was scared of heights, but I actually am. So they want to make sure that before people are committing to doing this experience, that they've done some other ones first. I just can't wait for this tonight, so come and join me. It's a lovely evening for it as well, here on the channel, as I climb up Hyperia at Thorpe Park. And that's the thing with something like this, you just don't know when you book what the weather's going to be like on the day. So I've definitely looked out with this one. It's the perfect night for doing this. Now, of course, when you're on the ride itself, you can take in the amazing views, but it's just over so fast, isn't it? You're climbing up the lift hill there, and before you know it, you're going down the drop, you're at the bottom and going through all the different elements. So what's really nice about doing these lift hill climbs, no matter which ride you do them on, is that you just get the time to take in and appreciate the views, but especially on a ride as tall as Hyperia, in a park that's got a lot of other tall coasters, going to be high above them all, looking out, getting some awesome photos and footage that I can't wait to share with you all in this video. It's when you really start looking up close at the lift hill when you realise just how many steps there are to climb up. I am so excited for this tonight. I can't wait to take you along for the experience. Now, in terms of how this works, today it's a 6 PM ride close here at Thorpe Park. So obviously the queue line closed at 6. Then after that, they've got to clear the ride, run off the queue. They've then got to garage the trains. So it could be a little while before I'm actually climbing up here. Originally, when I booked this experience, it was a 5 PM ride close today. So I thought, oh, you know, I might be climbing about 7, which means, you know, probably going to be up there in the daytime. However, they then changed ride close to a 6 PM. So that does mean that by the time it's cleared the queue, and also along with that, they've garaged the trains and everything like that, it could be starting to get dark when I go up here. I prefer to be going up in the daytime, as that's kind of what I booked it for. However, we'll see how it goes. Now, the experience has had a few mixed reviews. It only started a couple of weeks ago, and a friend of mine did it, the first one actually, and said, you know, that it was good. However, it was quite rushed because of the timings. It meant that the ride started a big queue, and by the time they were going up there, it was getting dark, and it was quite rushed. It was kind of get up there and come back down, and you don't want that for a £120 experience. So hopefully that isn't going to be the case tonight. Nonetheless, I'm very excited to get up there. And if it does end up being, as it's getting dark, well, we might get a nice sunset tonight here. That'd really make it. And obviously you've got all the lights shining up on the ride anyway, and on the lift hill, so that'd be quite cool to see. And along with that, looking out over the lights across Thorpe Park. So as much as I prefer to see it in the daytime, might get the best of both worlds. Might be climbing up there as it's still light, and then yeah, get to see the sunset maybe. It's such an impressive ride though. Hyperia. The big climb tonight. So it's currently 5:15. The queue is advertised on 90 minutes at the moment. So obviously it's going to be open for another 45 minutes before they close the queue. If at 6 o'clock, which is ride close today, it's on a 90-minute queue, that means it's probably not going to be cleared till about 7:30. Then they've got to garage the trains, and sunset is currently scheduled for about 8:02. So we'll see. I just hope it's not going to be a rushed experience. Not for that much money. I guess we'll see. Beautiful evening for it though. Couldn't have picked a nicer day. And I'm really pleased at the time of recording this, Yesterday was a really windy day, so it probably wouldn't have gone ahead. And yeah, that's the thing, if the weather isn't great, they can cancel this experience. Yeah, I'm really pleased the weather is good today, especially, you know, traveling about 2.5 hours down here to Thorpe Park, especially for this today. Yeah, I would have been gutted if it had been cancelled or anything because of the weather. So you have got to just bear that in mind with these experiences. You know, it can happen, but luckily that isn't going to happen today. Well, I thought I can't come to Thorpe Park and climb Hyperia and not have a ride on my favourite coaster in the UK. So just waited 50 minutes in the single rider queue. Not too bad at all, especially when the main queue's advertised on 90. I do really appreciate the fact that Hyperia has got a single rider queue, saves any seats going out empty, of course keeping them all filled. Right then, so what happens next is that we actually meet 15 minutes after ride close down at the entrance to Thorpe Park. Obviously tonight that's going to be at 6:15 and that's where we're going to get all the information about the climb tonight, get kitted up and everything as well before walking over to Hyperia ready for the climb. So I'm going to make my way over there now. Worth pointing out that you can't actually take big cameras and things like that up there on the climb. However, you can take photos and videos on your phone, but it needs to be in a little plastic pouch around your neck, and that is provided by Thorpe Park. So I'm going to make my way down there now and yeah, go and get ready to experience this tonight. Cannot wait. Now, shortly after that last clip, I made my way towards the entrance of Thorpe Park, where on the right-hand side of the entrance turnstiles, you got like the little reception area. There's a few seats in there. So I pressed the bell, said that I was here for a VIP tour. They let me in, and then I was sat there for a few minutes, and the other 3 people that were doing the walk arrived there as well. We waited for about 10 minutes where we were all just kind of chatting with each other, and then the VIP hosts arrived to take us along for the experience. Obviously, they introduced themselves to us and then walked us down to the marquee, which is right next door to the Swarm. It's that big white tent that you see there. If you've ever been to Thorpe Park and walking past, they use it for events and conferences and that kind of thing and special events, but they also use it as like a base for the lift hill climbs as well. As soon as we went in there, it was really organised. They had 4 chairs that were all laid out in front of us. They had the projector screen on ready to show us a presentation, and all of our equipment was in the bag in front of each of the chairs as well. At that point, we're also given a lanyard with our name on and also the exclusive pin badge that you get as part of this experience as well. So I think that was a nice touch out. It was all kind of laid out for us there, which was great. First thing after the introductions there is that we played the presentation. So we watched the video all about what we were going to be doing and some safety and all that kind of thing as well. It lasted for a few minutes. It was very professionally shot, and yeah, it was just a nice video to watch in general and explained everything really well. I thought that that was fantastic compared to like what Alton Towers do with their VIP experiences. I do think there was quite a difference there actually, having an actual video played instead of just having like the team members explaining it. I thought that was a more professional way of starting the experience actually. From that point then, we then started to put our equipment on. We got it all out the bags and things ourselves, started to put it on, but there was clear instructions about what to do. I'm glad that lessons were learned after the Oblivion lift hill climb last year at Alton Towers, where there wasn't really much direction at all. Luckily that has changed on all of these VIP experiences that we've done since, which I am pleased about. But yeah, the staff were there to guide us. Obviously we put our own harness on. They come round and clip it all and check and make sure everything was right. It's Petzl gear, so obviously using this to climb lift hills like all sorts of different theme parks around the world. In a rarer case, you'd get evacs, you'd get one of these put on as well. And yeah, just in general,
These are like industry standard around most of the world at theme parks. Very comfortable, easy to put on, and you don't actually have them too tight either. They say like you want them obviously comfortable, but you don't want to make them too tight either. At the end of the day, it's there to stop you. You know, if you are falling, it's there to catch you. You don't want it to be too tight. You want to be able to still fall into the harness. But yeah, you can see a photo that I took here of me with the harness on. Really comfortable, and yeah, they were there to check everything was okay. Right, at that point, we slowly made our way over towards Hyperia. As I mentioned, on the day that I did this lift hill climb was the 6 o'clock ride close. There was a bit of a queue at the end of the night, and you know, we were all hoping that we were going to be going up there in the daytime. But we did make our way over to Hyperia, where it was still running off a queue. This is what took some time. Now, at the end of the day on Hyperia now, because of the issues the rides had with valleying and basically rolling back and that sort of thing, they have to now basically make sure that, you know, you've got the perfect amount of people on the train at the end of the day. Like they've got all the water dummies and all that kind of stuff. It takes some time, it really does. I won't go into those details here, I want to focus on the experience, but I've already filmed my problem with Hyperia video a few weeks ago, so check that out if you haven't already seen it. Well, let's just say it took a while. The VIP hosts were great, they tried to keep us as entertained as they physically could do. We would have stood there, you know, at the bottom of Hyperia. You know, the ride was running off its queue, and then at the end, obviously, they had to take the trains off before we started the experience. So what was quite cool here was once it had finally clear of guests, we could actually make our way up into the station. Now, we weren't actually allowed to film and take photos of any of this part. Luckily, we could for a lot of the experience, but not this. So basically, we just made our way into the station, and we got to see the trains being garaged, which was quite cool. Obviously, moving the transfer track across, and then the trains going into the maintenance shed. So I think that was a nice touch. It wasn't really advertised as part of the experience, and it was nice that they did that. I think that was like the VIP host thinking, well, let's just keep people entertained, let's go and bring them up there. So we all stood on the air gate side of the platform, and then they just garaged the trains, which was nice to see. Did take quite a while to do this process, and we were looking at the station thinking, it's starting to get dark out there. I was getting a little bit concerned, you know, because obviously you've paid a lot of money for this experience. You want to make sure you're getting the photos and things that you want to, you know. But still, we finally got to the point where the techies had put all the trains to bed for the night, and we can make our way into the op cabin. There was no photos or videos allowed in the operator's cabin. However, we did get to spend quite a bit of time in there. They showed us the console, like, you know, everything in there, which was really cool to see it all. And then along with that, we then had to lock off on the ride as well. I mentioned that a few weeks ago with the Nemesis lift hill climb and behind the scenes tour. That's just the standard practice, not just at Merlin parks, but across theme parks in general. You lock off on the console just to make sure that obviously there's nobody going to be coming into the ride area and starting up that ride whilst you're in there, and that sort of thing. So we all had our own padlocks, and that was all done as it should be, you know, to make sure that everyone's going to be safe and that ride isn't going to be started up. Then we finally made it to the point where it was time for our climb to begin. So this is the point where we're now allowed to take photos and videos. You'll see some like shots coming up now throughout this as I'm talking about it. Starting off in the station, we got to have a little look without the train in there. Show lights were off, house lights were on, so that was quite cool to see. And then we made our way kind of round to the back, down past where the scaffolding is, where they keep the dummies, that obviously they have to put in there now to help prevent the rollbacks. We made our way down, and underneath the track just there, because obviously that's the transfer track to the maintenance bay. So it was cool to see that. Took loads of photos and videos that I'm going to share now throughout the experience. From this point on, they said we can take as many as we want to. Their only ask was, don't take any when we're going up the lift hill and walking. We could stop and take photos, but we couldn't actually be doing it as we were walking, if that makes sense, just to make sure we were concentrating on holding on. And obviously we've got our little guide rail fastened to the harness, the Petzl gear that we were wearing. So yeah, it was really cool. We've got to take some photos of that first kind of outward bank turn before it goes up the lift hill. Took some awesome photos there and on the way back down, which I'll show you like later on, because that was like towards the end of the experience. But that was nice. We made our way round. We then clipped on at the bottom of the lift hill after having like a little photo session there. Had some better photos there on the way back down, but we did have a couple of photos there, which was nice at that part. And then we started to make our way up the lift. It was starting to get dark. It wasn't like blue skies and sunshine now, but it wasn't pitch black either, as you can see. It was like getting dark, but you know, we were okay, like, because you could still see the park just about. It was a little bit like misty, I think, because the sun was going down. You couldn't see as clear as I would have liked, but it was still nice to get this experience and do it. So we started to make our way up the lift hill, and this is when you realise, even after doing maybe 15, 20 steps, how high this was going to be. It's a steep climb. You got to think on some of the lift hills, they're more like this, like the incline, whereas on Hyperia, it's a very steep lift hill, and you can actually see straight through the steps as well. So they're not closed-in steps. They are when you get near to the top, but not like actually on the main step. So you can see right down. I've got to say, we only went up about 30, 40 feet, and already the views are looking good of Colossus. Saw the ride, starting to look back over the skyline of the rest of the park, and that was great. We just kept climbing up. It was quite hard to get the rail to move on this one. Normally, I don't struggle that much with them, but on Hyperia, was really struggling. I was thinking, is it because not that many people have used it yet going up there? You know what I mean? It's this was only, I think, the third one of these that they've done when I did it. You know, I don't think they've had to evac or anything from the lift hill. So it's like, it's barely being used, to be honest, compared to like some where I've had a lot of use. So they're a bit easier. But yeah, it was hard. And what was interesting about this is that the rail was actually at the bottom. So as you're going up, not only are you looking down, you're having to like move this rail. So it does take some time, and you can see why they say no photos and videos whilst you actually climb in. The good thing is I kept saying, oh, you know, can we just stop here and take some photos? It didn't feel rushed at all. In fact, from starting to climb the lift hill through to getting to the bottom was over an hour. So like including the climb up, time near the top, I'll come on to that in a moment, and then coming back down was about an hour. So yeah, we definitely had our money's worth there, I felt. It wasn't rushed at all in the slightest. I was concerned because I was thinking time's ticking, it's getting dark, have we got to be back down before it's dark? But no, that wasn't the case. We could stay up there, you know, in the dark, which was great, as you'll see. So we started climbing up, you know, kept going higher and higher, and then we started to get some brilliant views of the park. And here's some shots looking over. I mean, these are fantastic views that, to be honest, when you're on the ride, you don't have the time to take in, but also, unless you turn around fully, you can't take it in, because obviously the lift hill faces this way, and most of Thorpe Park is off to the left and kind of behind. So unless you're really turning your neck round on the lift hill, which isn't the most comfortable thing to do, you're not going to get these views. So that was awesome, just climbing up there and getting to see it all was great. We then got some great views, of course, of the stall and the hill on the structure itself, which were right next to us. I mean, they're really high up, and we were literally eye level with them, especially the stall, which is my favourite element on Hyperia. It was nice to see that close, and you can see in the photos the sun and things were starting to go down now. The lights were on the structure, so that was fantastic. Kept climbing up, and again, you know, it's starting to get high now. Looking down, I can just saw the ride kind of down here. Luckily, I'm not scared of heights, but this was definitely, you know, if you are scared of heights, definitely don't do this, because you are very open, you're very exposed. At this point, even though it wasn't windy at all, the structure, you can feel it starting to wobble side to side a little bit. Obviously, it's designed to do that, you know, like any tall structure is. But yeah, you can feel it starting to wobble, you know, which added to the adrenaline, that added to the fun of it. Throughout, the tour guides were great, one at the front, one at the back, giving us lots of information about it all as well, and a few facts and things about the ride, which were fantastic. We then carried on then all the way up towards the top of the lift hill. Now, this was the point where, you know, the views were amazing, looking out over not just the ride, but also Saw. You got some excellent views of Saw the ride, because you're right over it, aren't you? That was great. Looking over towards Colossus, which looked tiny from up there. And then along with that, looking over towards Stealth, which you didn't get the clearest of views of because it was getting dark, but it was still nice to see. And Tidal Wave, the Swarm, Nemesis Inferno, the kind of skyline of the park, which was great. The Dome, and yeah, you then could see London in the distance. You can see the Shard, Canary Wharf. Along with that, great views of Heathrow. Obviously, that's only a few miles from Thorpe Park. Got them views of Heathrow and the control tower there, which was fantastic. And then we got to this point where, you know, we were about probably 10 feet away from the top, 236. You know, like we were nearly there. And obviously, we stopped at that point and thinking, oh, you know, we're stopping here now just to get some more photos before we continue on to the crest. You know, the curved crest, so we can stand right on the top at 236 feet. But then we were informed by the tour guide that that was as far as we could go. So that was the point where we were all a bit like, what? In fact, I thought it was a joke. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good one. You know, let's get up here. You know, let's get these photos. But no, it wasn't a joke. That was it. So on this lift hill climb of Hyperia, you don't actually climb right to the top on the crest. You get close, but you're about probably 10 feet off, I'd say, because obviously you've got, it curves, doesn't it, like that? Say this is the top of the main part of the steps, and then you go onto the crest. We were standing here. So as you can see from these photos and videos, we didn't actually go up to the top, which for me was the biggest disappointment of this. It was a fantastic experience, the views are amazing, but they were advertising, you know, climb to the top of Hyperia. For me, that's going to the crest, you know, like when you've done the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, you go to the right to the top, you know, past the beacon, and in fact, a little bit over the top as well, which I thought you'd be able to on this. But no, that wasn't the case. Obviously, with all the other like lift hill climbs and things Merlin offer, you know, you go to the top. As far as we're aware, I've done Colossus and the Swarm before. Both of them, you actually went to the top. I don't know if that's still the case now, but I did Oblivion last year, you did. Nemesis only a few weeks ago, and you did. But yeah, that was for me was the biggest disappointment. And it wasn't a joke. Genuinely, we weren't going all the way up to the top. I reckon, you know, we were probably about 230 feet, which maybe a little bit less than that, which was a shame because obviously it was advertised to be at the top. Still, the tour guides were great, and they even said, you know, if they could do, they would personally take us up there. We're clipped on. I don't really see what the difference is, especially because you've got your VIP host at the front anyway. But still, there's some sort of health and safety policy where they couldn't do that, which is a shame, and that was a disappointing part of the experience. But we did get to take in the brilliant views from where we were, looking out where we were about, what, 230 feet, 228 feet, maybe something like that. The views were spectacular. Looking out over the park, looking out over towards the London skyline, Heathrow Airport, the Shard, the park itself, like all the water that surrounds Thorpe Park. It was beautiful up there. And the good thing is it wasn't rushed at all. I'd heard from quite a few people that had done it the week before that their tour was very rushed, and this certainly wasn't, which I was very pleased about. Obviously, they must have listened to feedback from before. And the good thing is with this, we were at the top, like actually standing like at that point, which obviously they classed as the top, for about 20, 25 minutes. And it was just getting darker and darker, and there was no rush to go down at all. I thought, I'm not asking to go down because, you know, I've paid £120 for this experience. I'm going to make the most of it. So I took loads of photos and videos, which was awesome. And then it got to the point where the hosts were like, you know, have you seen everything you want to? Do you want to start heading down? We all said, yeah, we'd all got great photos. And then we started to make our way down. I did say quite a few times on the way down, oh, is it okay if we stop here, take photos and videos? Perfectly fine, you know, which was great. And you can see some more great shots here as it's even darker now with the structure lit up. It was quite cool seeing it actually at night with the lights and around the park and things as well. So we kind of got the best of both worlds. I would have liked it to have been a little bit lighter when I went up, but still, it is what it is, and it was a good, fun experience. Kept coming down then. This was actually the scariest part because yes, the structure's still wobbling a bit, but also you're looking down these really steep steps and seeing through the gap. So yeah, like I'm not scared of heights, I'm not fazed by it at all. However, if you are, then yeah, this would be quite a scary part of the experience. But still, we kept coming down, kept stopping, getting loads of photos, the stall, which was fantastic. And yeah, I tried to put my camera through the steps a little bit, you know, to get some photos of the drop and stuff as well. So that was good. And yeah, just in general, getting some awesome photos and videos of it all. I just wanted to point out, obviously the phone did have to stay in the pouch at all times, hence why some of the photos aren't 100% amazing because they're never going to be when they're in the plastic pouch. That's just the procedures with this, and that's how it is, which is a shame. I think it would be even better if you could just take your phone out, especially when you stopped. I think, you know, when you walk in, fair enough, but once you actually stopped in position, it'd be great if you could take it out and take some photos and videos. That's another bit of feedback just there. Obviously at your own risk, but it's not like there's anybody standing under, so if you did drop it, you know, it's not like it's going to hit anybody underneath because there's nobody there, you know, and you're locked off in the ride area. So I think that would make it even better as long as you sign in to make sure that it's at your own risk, you know, if you do that. But still got some great photos and videos. Made it to the bottom then of the lift hill after about an hour, that whole kind of experience there of going up at the top, stopping multiple times and getting to the bottom. And then we took some awesome photos at the bottom with Hyperia lit up behind, sat on the steps. That was great. Loved that from the tour guide. Thought that really made it. And then we spent like 10 minutes just meandering around that bottom section again, getting loads of angles of the lift hill, the ride, the station, the transfer area, the maintenance building. So that was really nice to get those. Got a photo there, my classic touching the track. I like doing a photo like that. And obviously with it all being locked off, you are fine to do that as part of this. So it kind of felt like a bit of a behind the scenes tour of the ride as well, instead of just the lift climb, which I did really enjoy. But yeah, took some brilliant photos there, and Hyperia looks the part lit up there, doesn't it, with a really nice bright lighting package on there too. At that point then, we made our way back into the station. Obviously, we went into the operator's cabin. We were having a bit of a chat for a little bit, having a look at the console. And then obviously, yeah, we unlocked from the ride and then made our way back over to the marquee. So we had to walk back there because that's where we left our bags and everything like that too. And then we took all our equipment off and we were handed a nice certificate to say that we've completed the Hyperia lift hill climb. but we didn't go to 236 feet. My two negatives with this whole experience are obviously the fact that we didn't go right up to the top. I think that was a real shame, and we were all a little bit disappointed because you want that achievement. You know, it'd be kind of like if you were going to climb like a mountain or something. Like I climbed Ben Nevis in Scotland a few years ago. You know, you can see the flag over there. You want to go to the flag, you want to touch it and stand there and have your yay, we've done it. But you couldn't with this. You kind of had to look at it in the distance, and that's how it felt with that one, which was a shame. So I'd like to see them look at that. And then obviously the other one being the fact it would have been nicer if we were going up as it was a bit lighter. But still, we did get more night photos when we came back down, and that kind of made up for that as well. Got to say, the tour guides were absolutely fantastic. Really did a great job, kept us entertained. I know it wasn't ideal with the situation. There was a lot of waiting about, you know, before we got up there, but still, it was worth it when we did it. And I really enjoyed the experience overall. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. But it is expensive at £120. Like I say, you know, you have to be a pass holder. You have to have done another lift climb as well in the past few years. So there's a few restrictions, but I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I've had the opportunity to do that as well because, you know, not many theme parks give you these behind the scenes experiences and lift hill climbs. So I'm really glad that Thorpe Park did. And I did enjoy it. You know, it was fantastic. I just wish we could have gone right to the top. That would have certainly made it. Are you looking at doing this? Are you already booked on? Let me know down below in the video comments. I would be really interested to know your thoughts. The Hyperia lift hill climb at Thorpe Park. But I've been there, I've done it. I've climbed up to the top, almost the top of the UK's tallest coaster, and it was an awesome experience. I did really, really like it. I think it's still worth the cost for a unique experience like that, but let me know your thoughts down below in the video comments. I'm Sean Sandbrook. Thanks for watching Theme Park Worldwide, and that leaves me with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding. See you in the next video.